What happens when Earth's mightiest heroes stop saving the multiverse and start fighting each other? That's the question Marvel fans are buzzing about right now after shocking reports emerged from the set of Avengers Doomsday. Rumors suggest that two of the film's biggest stars clashed so fiercely during production that the fallout nearly forced Marvel Studios to reshuffle the entire shooting schedule. And this isn't just idle gossip. Multiple insiders have confirmed that the blow-up was significant enough for the studio to consider filming entire sequences without one of the actors, a move that could have cost millions of dollars. Think about that for a moment. Marvel, the studio that orchestrated Infinity War and Endgame with dozens of A-list stars working in harmony, apparently had to step in and calm a situation so volatile that it threatened to derail their most ambitious project since 2019. With Avengers Doomsday already carrying the heavy burden of revitalizing a struggling MCU, the last thing Marvel can afford is chaos behind the scenes. Yet that's exactly what reports are painting: a set filled with tension, inflated egos, and personalities too big to coexist peacefully. For the audience, it raises all kinds of questions. What exactly was said that caused such a rift? How serious did it get before Marvel intervened? And perhaps most importantly, if tensions are already boiling this early into filming, what does that mean for the rest of production and for the future of the MCU itself? But before we dive into speculation and theories, let's take a closer look at how this story broke in the first place, because the way it surfaced is almost as dramatic as the feud itself. The first real spark that ignited this rumor didn't come from Marvel itself, or even from the mainstream press. Instead, it came from a podcast, a corner of the internet that has increasingly become a hub for scoops, leaks, and whispers from Hollywood insiders. During an episode of The Hot Mic, reporter Jeff Snyder dropped a comment that immediately caught fans' attention. He didn't hold back, comparing the dysfunction he'd heard about on the set of Avengers Doomsday to the notorious behind-the-scenes feuds of the Fast and Furious franchise. That was no small comparison. After all, the Fast films are famous not only for over-the-top action, but also for the very public disputes between stars like Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson.
You're going down, Toretto.
I'm right here.
To hear someone suggest Marvel's most important film since Endgame was already dealing with that level of chaos, that was enough to set the internet on fire. But Snyder wasn't the only voice adding fuel to the story. Fellow insider John Rocha, known for breaking several Marvel-related scoops in the past, stepped in to provide even more detail. Rocha claimed that during early filming in London, a heated exchange erupted between two major cast members. He described the incident as a big rift, emphasizing that Marvel executives took the matter seriously enough to discuss changing the production schedule. According to Rocha, what started as a small joke spiraled into something far bigger, and the fact that these weren't minor characters made it all the more dangerous for the movie's future. Almost immediately, fan speculation went into overdrive. Social media threads filled with wild guesses, with people dissecting every casting announcement, every behind-the-scenes photo, and every scrap of information to figure out which two Avengers could have possibly been at the center of this feud. Was it a veteran MCU star butting heads with a newcomer? Or perhaps two equally powerful personalities clashing for dominance in a film with too many egos and not enough room for compromise? At the same time, entertainment news outlets jumped on the story, adding their own spin. Comic Book Movie reported they had heard whispers that the clash became so heated, entire sequences might have been altered or removed from the script. If true, that would suggest this wasn't just a single argument smoothed over in minutes. It was a genuine production concern, one that could reshape parts of the movie audiences eventually see in theaters. And while insiders were careful not to cross legal or professional boundaries, they all agreed on one thing: this wasn't a rumor that could be dismissed easily. It was the kind of incident that could ripple across an entire production. And if you think this story already sounds dramatic, just wait until you hear what actually caused the blow-up in the first place. What's surprising about this story is that it wasn't some big creative difference or a battle over screen time that caused the tension. Instead, it began with something small, almost trivial on the surface. According to insider John Rocha, one actor made a casual joke on set. Normally, a little humor might help lighten the mood during long filming days, but in this case, the comment hit the wrong nerve. The two stars didn't know each other very well, so the remark came across as far too familiar, even disrespectful. The actor on the receiving end didn't let it slide. Instead of brushing it off, they reacted immediately and confronted their co-star. What could have been an awkward laugh quickly turned into a serious argument. And because both individuals are described as very outspoken, neither backed down. The clash grew louder, more public, and suddenly, what started as a simple misunderstanding had spiraled into a scene that froze the entire set. The worst part? The timing. Avengers Doomsday is already one of Marvel's most ambitious projects, with a cast full of A-list stars and a story meant to reset the entire franchise. The last thing the studio could afford was a rift between two actors who were supposed to share the screen. If the feud wasn't resolved, it could have caused delays, rewrites, or worse, a public scandal before the movie even wrapped production. And that's when Marvel itself had to step in. Once word of the clash reached the higher-ups, Marvel executives and the Russo brothers reportedly acted fast. The studio knew how dangerous this situation could become if left unchecked. Not only were millions of dollars on the line, but the reputation of Avengers Doomsday was at stake. Marvel has built its empire on the idea of teamwork and shared universes, so having two of its biggest stars refusing to work together was a nightmare scenario. However, cooler heads eventually prevailed. Marvel used its influence to bring both stars to the table. The fact that the studio was willing to make major concessions even at the expense of time and money was seen as a gesture of good faith. According to reports, the offended actor accepted this as proof that Marvel was taking the issue seriously. That paved the way for apologies, handshakes, and a fragile truce that allowed filming to continue. And while Marvel may have calmed things down for now, fans are left with the bigger question. Who were these two stars? And how did their egos nearly derail one of the most important Marvel films ever made? Ryan Reynolds quickly became a name tossed into the rumor mill, simply because of his reputation for being sharp-witted and playful on set. Could his trademark humor have rubbed someone the wrong way? Of course, without confirmation, that theory remains pure speculation.
And let me tell you, he's got a nice pair of smooth criminals down under.
On the other side, fans pointed fingers at legacy characters, actors who might be less open to joking banter from newcomers. The truth is, with an ensemble this massive, almost any pairing could spark curiosity, which is why the guessing game has become a story of its own. Still, with no names confirmed and the actors reportedly back on good terms, the mystery remains unsolved. But that hasn't stopped speculation from becoming part of the hype, adding yet another layer of intrigue to a movie already carrying sky-high expectations. But while Marvel struggles with perception, the cast itself has become part of the story, with some actors dropping cryptic comments that only fuel the mystery further. As the whispers about this clash grew louder, attention quickly shifted to the actors themselves. Fans began scrutinizing every interview, every post, every stray comment to see if either star would slip up and confirm what really went down on set. And while neither has directly addressed the rumors, their words haven't exactly quieted the speculation. It's almost as if the cast has been caught between two opposing forces, the studio's need for silence and the public's demand for answers. In the vacuum of official statements, fans have built their own narratives, some believable, others outrageous, and that's only heightened the sense of mystery. Whether intentional or not, the actors' subtle, half-spoken remarks have given this feud a life of its own, turning it into something larger than just a behind-the-scenes disagreement. But here's the thing, this isn't the first time Marvel has faced a storm like this. In fact, history shows us that when tensions flare behind the scenes, the truth eventually comes out, one way or another. The first and most immediate concern is scheduling. These massive crossover projects rely on precise timing, with interconnected stories stretching across multiple films and series. If two actors can't be in the same room without tension boiling over, it complicates everything from filming group scenes to coordinating press tours. Marvel thrives on presenting unity, and even a small fracture threatens to disrupt the carefully constructed illusion of one shared vision. Then there's the creative risk. Directors and writers may feel pressured to adjust scripts or rework dynamics to keep the peace, potentially watering down character arcs or narrative momentum. What began as a personal disagreement can snowball into creative compromises that ripple through the entire film. And given that Doomsday is setting the stage for Secret Wars, the impact could carry into multiple future projects. But perhaps the most significant consequence lies in perception. Marvel is already facing questions about superhero fatigue and whether the franchise can maintain the magic it had during the Infinity Saga. A publicized feud reinforces the narrative that the studio is losing control, that the shine is fading, and that the once unbreakable machine now has flaws. Perception shapes reception, and for Marvel, that could be just as dangerous as any real behind-the-scenes struggle. Still, while the ripple effect is already being felt in whispers and speculation, the burning question remains, how much of this will fans actually see on the screen when Avengers Doomsday finally arrives? At the end of the day, whether this rumored feud proves to be overblown or absolutely real, one thing is certain, Avengers Doomsday has already captured the world's attention long before its release. Every whisper, every headline, and every leak only adds more fuel to the fire. Turning the movie into more than just another entry in the Marvel saga, it's become an event shrouded in speculation and tension. For Marvel, that might be both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, the drama ensures that all eyes will be glued to this film, waiting to see if the cracks show or if the studio pulls off another masterclass in blockbuster storytelling. On the other hand, if the rumors bleed too far into reality, the friction behind the scenes could overshadow the epic story that's meant to unite fans around the world. What we do know is this Doomsday isn't just the title of the film. It may also represent a turning point for Marvel itself, a test of whether the studio can weather internal storms while still delivering the spectacle fans crave. So when the lights finally dim and the Avengers assemble once more, the question won't just be who survives Doomsday on screen, but whether Marvel itself emerges stronger on the other side.